Have you been hearing a lot about TikTok, and now we have Reels by Instagram, and we just have all this new technology coming out, and we're going to find out what actually is good for creating content, what's bad, is TikTok going away, is it staying? There's so much going on. And how is COVID-19 affecting Gen Z and millennials? We have an amazing expert that's actually a Gen Zer to give us some insight into what's going on in everything pop culture. Find out this and more coming up next. This is To The Point. Thank you for tuning in today. Got a good one for you. It's been a crazy week. We started off the week with that crazy explosion in Lebanon. Still unbelievable. The footage coming out of that is just crazy. And the fact that the death count at this time is rather low is still blows my mind. Just tragic about maybe you shouldn't put things that go boom on top of other things that go boom on top of things that are flammable. Just saying. That's why we have regulations here in first world countries, wishing the people of Lebanon the best. It's going to cost them billions of money they don't have to recover in the middle of a pandemic. Yep, 2020 has a sick sense of humor, and this is what we're dealing with. Now, today's show is all about pop culture. We're going to be talking about TikTok. We're going to be talking about how Gen Zs are going to be able to recover during COVID-19 in this pandemic that has basically set their world upside down. A lot of college graduates coming out trying to figure out how they're going to get jobs. Jobs they had are gone. They don't know what they're doing. Some folks are still in college trying to figure out are they returning to campus or not. The world is a mess. But let's say this before we get started. It's come to my attention that there's some crazy ass people out there in the world, and you probably see them everywhere. But let's be clear about a few things. Putting a psychic on your show and talking if Jeffrey Epstein is dead or not doesn't make you look like you are actually a good journalist and have quality TV. It means you're thirsty, and it means that you're just desperate for attention. And what we don't need is more fake news from either side, and that seems to be what everybody wants to do now. Put out content that doesn't really matter or oblige to anybody, but some crazy thing that you think you came up with in your tinfoil hat wearing days. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this isn't what To The Point's about and never will be about. We will never put some conspiracy theory backed up by some stupid Joe Exotic Staten Island idiot. That's just not how we roll around here. Instead, we roll around with facts and we get you guys, the experts. It's just what I want to do for you guys. Now, in the coming weeks, you're going to hear about some big news happening on To The Point. And we can't wait to share it with you. It's huge for our show. It's huge. For the fact, I'll tease you this much as we go into this beautiful Friday and you go into the weekend and know what I'll be celebrating is this show has been picked up by a network. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, this show that you guys support has been picked up by a network. It means a million to us. It means so much to us that you guys tune in and listen to us. So on behalf of our entire team here at To The Point, we want to tell you we have a lot of great news to be sharing with you, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. So on behalf of myself, Jordan Gilbert, Miss Madison Mitchell, my beautiful daughter, Victoria, and others on our team that have helped us get where we are today, and our amazing guests. But it couldn't and wouldn't be here today if it wasn't amazing folks like you. So from my heart and my family to you, thank you. Now, let's get to today's amazing guest and a little bit about who she is. Now, if you've been watching our show, you know from the start we had this guest on quite often. Well, she's Miss Popular because she's just awesome. She is what I call my favorite Gen Z badass other than my own children. She's awesome. She kicks ass and she knows a lot. She's been creating content from a super young age. She's from my home state of Florida. And I'm excited to have Miss Pavlina Osta join us today because she's killing it. In July, she only did a few things in July. In July, she released a best-selling book focused on 20-somethings to help 20-somethings get through what is crazy times. Oh, and she got selected to be a host on a major network over on BoldTV. If you remember, we had David Grasso on our show just a few short weeks ago. And now today's guest, Miss Pavlina Osta is going to tell us about her new show and when it's launching. So all this and more we're excited about. So without further ado, let's kick off this awesome Fan Friday, and we have a lot to celebrate and a lot to get excited about and a lot to cover. So let's get to the point with our first guest today, the wonderful and incredible and my good friend, Miss Pavlina Osta. Welcome back to the show, Pavlina. How are you doing?
I'm good, Eric. How are you doing? Thank you for having me back.
You know, it's been a crazy, crazy week to start. I think 2020 just has a sense of humor, and it's like, hey, we're going to start off the month, and you might be like, maybe August will be the month that 2020 starts to go, okay, I'm just going to be a normal year, and we're just going to go. Nope. Sure enough, we all turned on our TVs, or actually our social media, and we're greeted by what looked like just a standard fire at a port in the beautiful coastal city of Beirut. And I'll be the first one to tell you I was watching the same video. Somebody sent it to me. They're like, watch this. And I was like, it's a fire. Not saying I was downplaying it, but I'm like, okay, I can turn on my own TV and see that. That's not fascinating. So I turned it off and I went back to doing my thing. In fact, I actually had an appearance on Cheddar TV. And I was like, oh, and they brought it up in the control room. They're like, did you see that? And I was like, what is everybody talking about? And I went back. I guess I needed to last 7 seconds instead of my short brain span of 5 where I was not excited by it. 7 seconds in and I was like, oh, wow. Like, holy crap, wow. So, yeah, I'm talking about the Beirut. If anybody hasn't seen this footage, amazing. And the people of Beirut just absolutely devastated. I guess we're lucky. And I don't want to sound cheesy when I say lucky, but anything that's a low body count, when you look at that devastation, that explosion, to hear under 200 dead, you're like, holy crap, they got lucky. Because I don't know if it's COVID-19. I don't know what kept everybody away from that. But more people should. I would have thought the death count would be skyrocketing.
It was such a massive explosion. I was shocked in the body count as well. And, there were thousands that were injured. Like, so it's not like, everyone was kind of like unscathed by it. But, one life gone is horrible and terrible. But just watching that devastating explosion and how much it affected, I really thought it would have gotten more people. And I think you made a really good point on the fact that people just probably weren't out, or maybe, not as being social or whatever they do in the port of Beirut, because of COVID. I think a lot of people, I can see it here in New York and everywhere else in the country, people just aren't out as much. So maybe that's what saved them. And unfortunately, the other people that were there weren't so lucky, but it was a big explosion for sure.
So you're Lebanese by descent, right? That's your background, is you're Lebanese. So do you have family over in Lebanon?
Yeah, I still have a lot of my dad's side of the family that are still over there. My brother is currently over there. And then one of our more immediate family, uncles, he's also over there. And they were all pretty close to the explosion when it happened. And I was like freaking out. Like I called my brother immediately. Like I was just like, are you okay? Like what happens? Where are you? And he actually was getting dinner, or I guess like lunch or something. Don't know the time difference. And he had like a view of the port, and they could kind of see what was going on over there. And at first they were like, okay, like that's really weird. And then they felt that first wave of it basically. And my brother thought there was like an earthquake, or did like a truck like run into the restaurant? Like what just happened? Because you didn't really see it right away, And then they got the second one, and you just bolted out. Like everyone was just like running. Like it was so scary. It was just the craziest thing. So yeah, I was worried about them for sure.
So let's talk about this. As somebody, my experience when I think of Beirut, obviously everybody who tunes into the show knows that I am a Marine Corps veteran, and unfortunately in Marine Corps history, there's the Beirut bombing in 1983 that took the lives of over 286 United States Marines. So to say we know a little bit about Beirut, and we know that there's interesting blood. Now, I have a lot of friends here in America that are Lebanese. You're included in that, and I think your culture is amazing. Now, from just digging in 1 week, I have learned that this government is probably one of the shadiest governments in the world, which always makes me cringe when people are like, look at our government. I'm like, oh, no. Au contraire, mon frère. No. Our friends in Lebanon are known throughout the region for being the shadiest, dirtiest human beings on the planet. Not the citizens, their government. I don't even know if they're elected officials. They don't appear to. That guy who's the prime minister, I don't know. I was a little afraid by number one, they have put every port official in house arrest, which,
yeah,
okay, I can understand. Kind of understand. I mean, that would never happen here, but I could get it. But then it was his following sentence to those who are responsible in our government will be dealt with in the swiftest and most violent manner. I'm like, bro, okay, I get it. You're angry, but I don't think killing people's the answer here. More death isn't going to solve your problem. But can you really brief, and I want to get into more topic, this is obviously very topical on a global scale, and I'm only asking you because, you have family there. Can you kind of break down how the Lebanese government is and kind of give us an overview? So Americans, a lot of us don't know. I mean, we think Israel and that kind of stuff. But if you don't mind, just briefly kind of share that with us.
Absolutely. I've been following, I usually like to follow Middle Eastern kind of news in general, just because I think it's fascinating and because it has to do so much with my family. So I've been keeping up with what's been going on in Lebanon for quite some time, and it's pretty bad. And you're absolutely right in the sense that, yes, like we have corrupt, government officials here and everything, and they are elected in Lebanon. But it goes so deep that the roads aren't fixed. There's not a proper garbage system. The roadsides don't get fixed. Buildings do not get fixed. Like that bombing that happened, which there's multiple bombings that always happen. Any kind of gunshot, bullet holes right in a building, that usually doesn't get fixed. Like their tax dollars go straight to the politicians, and the citizens just don't get it. You know what I mean? Like they're not fed properly. Usually the refugees are treated a little bit better than the actual Lebanese citizens, which is just so hard to see. And it's just such a corrupt government. Like they don't do anything for the citizens that you would think are extremely basic. You know what I mean? If we didn't have every Tuesday our garbage got picked up or whatever, there would be, first of all, New York would collapse or something. But in general, I think anywhere in the country, people would have a serious issue, if there were little things like that weren't being taken care of. And that's how simple and basic the government is, just not helping its citizens. And then during this whole COVID thing, there is no control over it. Their economy is in a full-blown collapse at this point. It's just the most. And they've had protests. They have been protesting for a long time now. They get very little change. And then they, get some people out of power. They try to get other people in power. And it's just so difficult because there's so many conflicting, there's a lot of difficult things going on within Lebanon right now. And I think just trying to get some of the better politicians in there would definitely help them. But it's very, very corrupt with the government over there.
Pavlina, what always, and I should not say what always makes me laugh, because it doesn't, but, reading the Bible and having a good friend of mine, Dominic Dunn, he's a pastor at a big church here in Portland. He's written an amazing book about losing faith, but he is an Oxford grad. So he deep dives, of course, being an Oxford guy. I think if you go to Oxford, automatically you know more than the rest of us and you deep dive. Clearly, anytime he's in the room, he is the smartest person in the room, and which is good because I was always taught don't be the smartest guy in the room. So I never have to worry. I always associate with smarter folks, so I'm always good. But when you look at it, and he brought up a good point, if you look at where all the contingent fighting and bad things that seem to happen, they always seem to happen where everything in the scripture took place, right? When you think about it, the Garden of Eden is technically Baghdad. Syria, Lebanon, Israel, all this holy land. And when we all talk about it, when you look at American culture, and I know you talk about faith quite often, and I know here in our country, faith is something that a lot of people have lost, right? And especially your generation has really become, and I say this atheist, I don't really think you are atheist. I don't think your generation is we're atheists. I just think you don't like the concept of going to church. I think you're I got better crap to do for an hour. I don't care if you have a rock band up there or your traditional, say the Catholic faith, where you stand up, sit down, fight, fight, fight. Sorry, Catholics out there, I'm one of you, so I can pick on you because I had to do the kneeling and the standing, didn't understand why we were doing it still to this day. I got bad knees now, so I just sit. But it's true. I'm no, I'm not kneeling. That pew hurts. I don't care if Jesus did it. It hurts. Jesus didn't have bad knees. I don't know. Sorry, Jesus. But no, I just think it's, I mean, don't you find it a bit ironic in the place where everything started, it's the most violent year after year. Like, I don't know, they use the word ceasefire way too loosely. Like, it's like, not
Right.
today.
Yeah, no, you make a really good point. Geez, they have just, I feel like constant wars over there. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because the thing is, they just handle things so differently than we do here. You know what I mean? I feel like just in America, it's very strategic if we're going to go to war. It's like, okay, do we want to put our people through this? Like, we need to really think this through. Like, this is like a major thing. Whereas over there, it just kind of feels like, oh, you don't like me? Okay, well, we're going to war, buddy. Like, let's go. Like, I'm gonna crush you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they just like handle things so differently. It always shocks me. And yeah, I don't know. It is very interesting that it always happens over there. Maybe it's just because they've got so much history and the countries are so intertwined with each other, and like there's just so much good
We
blood.
say this as a country that's 244 years old. We're like we're the baby on the block. Yeah, we're the infant around here. No matter we're the Gen Zers around here when we're like, what are you guys doing over there? Behave, and everybody's like, bruh, y'all are so new. You don't even have a fight in this. I mean,
Exactly. They're like, you don't even know. This goes back to like, early days. Like I don't know what's going through their minds, but yeah, we don't know anything.
No, we're in our own. But anyways, let's kind of move on from talking about, neither one of us are going to solve the Middle Eastern crisis, and 0 sitting presidents have ever been able to do it. So this isn't a knock on 45, 44, 43, or any president. I know they've all tried, and it doesn't matter. The Middle East, they do their thing, and they do it their own way, and trying to figure it out, we have our own issues here. So let's jump to our first big issue. Well, I don't want to do that. I actually want to celebrate something with you. I actually want to celebrate 2 things with you because I'm super proud. You didn't have either one of these the last time you were on the show. First off, your July was pretty badass. And I'll say, excuse my French. I don't even think that's a French word, but we'll make it one today. But you released an amazing book. That's phenomenal. I've seen it zoom up the charts. I've seen it all over social. And your book is absolutely killing it right now. And your book is built completely off of Gen Z, your generation, and kind of answering putting it to you. Like, I'm not a Gen Zer, but I have a few in my house, and trust me, I'm like, here you go. Here's a gift that you just need to read.
Yes.
So let's talk about that first, and then your second news, and you go. So this is a 2-part question, and you are now a host of your own show on the amazing network at BoldTV. Congratulations on both. Let's talk about your book first. What inspired you to write this book? Now, you are one of the most phenomenal content creators of your generation, period. Hard stop. When you talk, people listen. Even old fuddy-duddies in their 40s like me, even folks in their 70s, they stop and go, what is this inspirational and powerful young lady doing and talking to? And you've talked to some big people. It's not like you're talking to like Logan Paul. You're talking to huge name, huge, gigantic name people, and you hold your own and you ask questions that most folks your age, even my age, won't ask these folks. You ask the questions and you do it with a smile on your face and you know what you're talking about. What inspired you to write this book?
Okay, well, thank you so much, Eric. So my book is 20 Things Every Motivated 20-something Should Know. And what really inspired me to write the book was I was noticing a lot of my friends, kids I was going to school with, kids I was meeting at different like entrepreneurial events. We all sort of struggle with the same things, especially when you're motivated. And I was like, okay, well, I want to write something in order to, because I'm a big reader. I love reading. Like, if you ever come to my apartment, there's books everywhere. You know what I mean? It's just like dripping in books. So I was like, I want to be able to like contribute something like this to my other 20-somethings, right? And the beautiful thing about the book is when I finished it, I was like, you don't even need to be in your 20s to read this. Like, you can be literally any age to either be remotivated, re-inspired, find your purpose, whatever it is that you need. I basically cover it. And I was just noticing that a lot of my friends were struggling, and I was like, I am sort of like a life coach to a lot of my friends, which is sort of what I've noticed. I should become a life coach. I don't know what I'm doing with myself, but like, I love giving them advice and guiding them. And I was like, I'm just going to put it all in a book so they all can have it all the time. And like, I started my radio show when I was 11 years old. I was, interviewing celebrities, and I was just so blessed to like have that time and learn so much from that time. I incorporated a lot in that, a lot of that in the book, and all the things I learned along the way. Sacrifice, being tenacious, having persistence, keep like learning how to overcome obstacles, going through the failures, all of that stuff that gets most people to stop doing what they're doing, and especially when they don't see this like the success right away, because you don't see success right away, and especially in a business like we're in, media. It first of all, it's not for a 12-year-old like when I was, really interested in it, or when I even now, it's sort of like I sort of had to grow into it. And you don't see successes right away, and that's very discouraging for millennials and Gen Zs, especially because, like you kind of said a little bit earlier, we sort of have this like 5-second attention span. You know what I mean? I'm gonna put everything like for 2 days, right, into this one project. Oh my gosh, nothing's happening. It's not getting enough views. It's not getting enough this. It's just like, okay, well, you were at it for 2 days. You know what I mean? So I really just wanted the book to have everything and, kind of go through all of these different scenarios, essentially, like, overcoming obstacles and the fears and all that stuff. Like, I struggle with the imposter syndrome, so I have a whole chapter on that. And now I have a podcast where I interview, instead of celebrities, because I've done over 600, I was like, I think I got you guys covered. You know what I mean? So now I really like talking to like TED Talk speakers, researchers, doctors, and I incorporated a lot of those in the book as well, along with their research and stuff. So it was all very, very backed up, and I got to talk to them, which was even cooler. So they answered a lot of my questions. So yeah, the book was a lot of fun to write. I'm so happy about how it's doing, and everyone's feedback on it. It's already an Amazon bestseller, so that's fantastic. It's been out for like 2 weeks. And yeah, so it's been really good. I'm very happy with it.
I'm so happy for you. It's an amazing book. I've actually read it, even though and it does. You have, your background and what you do. You truly are a huge inspiration for Gen Zers that are out there. They need role models. Like like my generation, we grew up with guys like Derek Jeter, Michael Jordan. Those were our heroes. Brandy Chastain, the '96 gymnastics team. All those folks are kind of like, we remember those. And I'm so old. I remember Mary Lou Retton, and that's really aging myself from the '84. But a lot of us grew up with that. But your generation really doesn't have that. Having a almost 16-year-old daughter who wants to get into journalism, you're somebody I can point her to. You, Cooper Lawrence. But you're closest in age out of all of them to her, and you have this journey that you've done. So your book is timely. So you also have this new TV show on BoldTV. Starts next week, you said. So give us the background of your show?
Yeah, I am so excited. I love everyone at Bold, so I was just like really pumped when this kind of came along. So it's called The Stand with Pavlina, and I want to know what you stand for, why you stand for it, and it's basically, I really have always just been into, like, even the mantra for my podcast is a better you for a better us, and I always want to know how we can improve ourselves, because like when you know yourself, when you really can like work on yourself, and you're better as a society. You know what I mean? Like you're a better person usually. You understand why other people do things. You're usually more compassionate, more empathetic, all of those wonderful things, and that makes up a better society. And I've always been really, really into that. So the show, I sort of break it down, like in my mind, like in three kind of segments, right? 3 parts. So one is like spirituality, where we sort of talk about like the ego, or like letting things go, or like how to, meditate or be calm in like a stressful time like we're in, like 2020. This just does not seem to give us a break. And then I like to talk about like entrepreneurial, motivational stuff. It's like, okay, well, let's talk about like angel investors. Let's talk about, talk to someone like Gary Vee on, motivating yourself, or like what you need, that kind of thing. And then the last one being like millennial news. So when I already shot the first pilot, which is really exciting. So we're just like waiting to have that go out. I was talking about maskne with a dermatologist. So I know a lot of us are struggling with acne from wearing the mask, especially in this ungodly heat. So yeah, we talked a lot about that and ways to prevent it. So it's just like a very fun show that helps you be better, so that you can be better in our world.
Awesome. And what time is that on, so folks can tune in?
Well, it's definitely, I can tell you for sure, like it's going to be on all of their social sites, like on BoldTV, all of their social sites. So that way you'll never miss it.
Awesome.
And once I get all the details, I will definitely let you know, Eric.
Because we will promote you and we will make sure people tune
Thank
in.
you.
Everybody, make sure you tune in the moment we know. We'll put it here in the. We'll announce it on To the Point so everybody can go tune in to this awesome first episode. So let's jump in to what was, I guess, it's funny how in a week news just changes. But what's kind of been a story for quite some time. It's over social. People are very divided about it. And I hate saying your generation likes it because my generation loves it too. TikTok.
Everyone loves TikTok.
Everybody loves the TikTok. The government banned it from its employees. We saw the Biden and Trump administration make their campaigns delete it from their phones.
Right.
A lot of alt-right shows have come out and had, different people on posing this Chinese conspiracy theory that they're spying on us. Trust me, I don't do anything exciting that the Chinese need to look at my phone. I know a lot of friends that are like, dude, Facebook's been doing that without regulation for years. What do you care? It's an interesting world we live in. Now, number one, a lot of folks that are influencers on TikTok. So my biggest concern is we're already in a time where people are losing enough money. We had more unemployment announced just on Thursday at another 1.4 million new people filed for unemployment, putting our numbers over 41 million unemployed. Now, you take these influencers off who are making good money. I have some good friends who are professionals. They do amazing things using TikTok, and they're amazing marketers. What's your thoughts on where we go with TikTok now? How is this going to affect? Well, I have a couple of questions here, but let's start with the first one. How is this going to affect the influencers?
Well, if we get kicked off TikTok, the thing with TikTok is like it's a very niche community. You know what I mean? A lot of the TikTokers on there that are considered influencers, or famous on TikTok, right? They're just famous on TikTok. Like it doesn't really carry over to a lot of their other social platforms. They might be featured in commercials. They might start other makeup lines, but that's outside of TikTok, right? So some have been lucky enough in order to expand themselves in that way, but the majority are just big on TikTok and, do ads and, sponsored things or whatever through their TikTok community and followers and everything. For them, it would be horrible. It would probably not be the best thing for them. Hopefully they would be able to get those followers onto another social platform like Instagram or something. But for the most part, they'd probably just lose, that following. But also those followers would lose watching a person that they really enjoy. So it's a lose-lose for them.
It is funny that you bring up Instagram because over the weekend we saw Triller, not Thriller. I keep thinking Michael Jackson, and it's not the song with the cool dance. It's an app called Triller. Triller was the #1 free app in the App Store when the news came out that President Trump was going to ban it over the weekend. Now, obviously, here we are on Friday. That hasn't happened yet, and we're seeing Microsoft is in heavy discussions with it, but again, anytime something is popping up in it social media-wise, a few years ago it was Snapchat, when Snapchat was the hottest thing on the planet. Mark Zuckerberg and his team of amazing people in technology popped their head up and they released, Instagram stories. At the time was really cool for Snapchat. And Instagram just released Instagram Reels, which they've had in other markets in other parts of the globe like they do, but they released it here in America 2 days ago.
Yes.
It's a direct competitor. Obviously, you don't have to go download an app. So if you're concerned about phone space, which a lot of us are, you now have this competitor and you don't have to worry about it getting banned. I mean, do you see that being something like these influencers will be like, cool, I'll just go to that, it's safer, or TikTokers stay with TikTok and Reels just become something else for us to look at and go do? Because, a lot of people aren't using IGTV. Let's just be real.
Okay, this is like what I'm saying. Like that's exactly what I think is so interesting. Is like IGTV has never taken off. Like that was never a thing where I might. The only reason I kind of like it is because you can post like a longer video and it goes to IGTV, but you never just like go on to IGTV and like watch stuff on there. You know what I mean? If I see something that's interesting, okay, fine, I'll click, continue watching and watch the rest of it. Like that's nice, but it hasn't taken off the way that they actually intended it to take off, or like the way they wanted it to. So that's interesting. It's like, okay, well, you go to a platform for like, one thing. Like when I go to TikTok, I have one intention, and that is I usually just want to laugh. Like I usually just want like a mental relief. I just want to see some funny videos. Maybe I'll learn something. Maybe I'll try a new workout. Like, because that's what TikTok is for. It has like all this like random stuff. It's either funny or like knowledgeable in some way, and I love it. the reels on Instagram, okay, I live on Instagram. I love Instagram. Um, I'm not like a huge fan of it just because it takes up like the full top part of your screen on the explore page. So, I mean, not only that, but it's also like literally just TikTok in your
Yep.
explore page. You know what I mean? Like it's just like you guys took the exact same. You were not creative or original like whatsoever. It's literally the TikTok format in Instagram. So I don't know what's going to happen with that. I thought that was kind of interesting. But they're a direct competitor, and they were just like, oh well, you guys are having trouble. If Microsoft doesn't strike that deal and you guys do get banned, people know where to get the same thing. And it's just like it's not the same though because TikTok, like their algorithm and like the way, they find videos for you that you like, it's so different from Instagram. I don't, unless they have some sort of set algorithm for that, I'm not going to be a fan of it because the way TikTok finds the things that I like, I love it. You know what I mean? Even if it has like no views or it's not, a celebrity necessarily, I still get to see it, which I think is really cool. Whereas with Instagram, it has a certain algorithm, and I can get into all of that. But it makes it so you don't always see you see what everyone else is seeing because it's what's popular, not like the new videos or the up and coming, like that kind of stuff. So it has a different algorithm, which is also frustrating. But anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you because there's so many. I mean,
Yeah.
I remember when Twitter was the thing everybody wanted to get rid of, but yet I
Yeah.
love Twitter. I mean, I spend probably more time on Twitter. Twitter's my favorite. Out of
Right.
all of them, I love Twitter. I mean, TikTok, I call it my time suck.
Yeah.
When I just want to laugh, I go there.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Instagram stories, I try to get into it. Just time. I mean, it's not like I don't like it.
Stories are such a waste of time to me. I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't care what's happening. You know
Oh,
what
you
I
just
mean? I
gotta
never
like
look at stories.
you're just going through people's story going, I really didn't need to see you work out. I really could care less.
I know.
Just
Either
saying.
I get like FOMO from not like being somewhere or doing
Yeah.
something, or it's like I feel like I'm wasting my time watching this right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I just need to do something else.
I posed that question the other day actually on Twitter. I asked people what they consider themselves. How do they consume content? Are they more to be a creative and create
Right.
the content, which I would say you are more of a creative.
Yes.
Yes, you consume it, but you and I believe we both like creating content. Obviously, I put a show out 5 days a week. I love creating content. You too, right? You're always, I follow you on Instagram. I see you out there. You're crushing it. You always have cool content. I watch your content and I'm like, you give it like a different spin. So that's where I like geek out on it because it's almost like art to me.
Yes.
And there's
I
certain people
love
that I
art.
will watch because they have the art factor where you're like, I actually look forward to your content because I feel like I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like yours, I have like a list of people that I'm like, I like your content. And then there's the people who always have like some motivational quote. They're like, hey, and you're just like, dude, if I wanted to hear a motivational quote, I'll follow Gary Vee. Gary can give me my, because basically they're taking a Gary Vee quote anyways. But I mean, it's, I get the FOMO thing. And I just think it's weird how people consume content now. It's how we all do it. And there's so many different places to go. Honestly, I think Twitter's why I like consuming content. It's short,
Yeah.
sweet, to the point, and I don't have to listen to a long range of just blah blah blah. And by the way, nobody posts their workout on Twitter. I've never seen anybody working out on Twitter, and I win on that because I am over whoever taught these fitness people, like like professional fitness people. I'm not talking about you pros, Sean T. I don't want you angry at me, but
Right.
the other people. I am not interested in seeing you sweat on your floor with your kid running around, and
That's funny.
I don't want to watch your workout. I don't. It's not entertaining at all. I'm like, skip. I'd rather watch an adventure. I want to see people on vacation. I love travel. I love seeing where people are at. But it's
Right.
right. So let me ask you this. So I'm kind of just ranting and railing like I normally do when it comes to social. I love it. But COVID-19, obviously, it's still a beast. A lot of your Gen Zers are struggling. Most of them graduated from college 3 months ago. I'm laughing because I feel like we're still in March, and I'm like, we're in the middle of August.
That's how I feel. I'm just like, I don't know what time warp I'm in, Eric, but it's not okay because I still feel like we're in March and it's like it's so hot outside. I don't know. I'm very confused.
I'm like, what do you mean it's almost September? What do you mean we're getting into fall? And I'm a sports fan, and I'm like, football starting? What? No, football doesn't start in March. But for your generation, so many graduated from college. They had jobs, and they don't. We were recently at my mother's birthday party a few weeks ago. It wasn't recent. It was actually the beginning of July, but hey, it feels like it was recent. At my mother's birthday party, and her good friends were there, and they brought their kids because they were living at home, literally because of cost of living and being remote. It's just too expensive, and they had to come return home. And they're great guys. I mean, these are like folks in their mid-20s, so it's not like they chose to do it just because, hey, their roommates left, which is hard. You live in a big city.
Yes.
My brother goes to the same thing. He lives by himself in Soho. You know how the cost of living is. If you can't afford a place without a roommate, then you got to figure things out. If you can't, you're awesome, and that's great, but a lot of people can't. And they lose roommates, especially in San Francisco. I mean, I know New York loves to tell everybody how expensive it is, but San Francisco's like, hold my beer, we're more expensive. And you guys think you sleep in little closets? Those fools sleep in smaller closets. They put like 10 people in a small, like 4-bed, like small place. Like, they do it all about location.
Because I've seen it, because I have some friends that were like moving there, and I was helping them like apartment shop or whatever, and I was just like, wow, I didn't know they could get much smaller. You know what I mean? I didn't think that was like even humane. Like, that's honestly like, this what? They're so small. It's crazy. Yeah. And like, they're not nice either. You know what I mean? Like,
so how's your generation going to, I think, like, so let's be clear, you and a lot of other folks in your generation, I mean, we work with a lot of Gen Zers. A lot of, remote, I come from the Silicon Valley. Working remote is like, dude, it's just another day. When people are like, we had to go work remote, I was like, I've been doing that for a long, long time. I've been working on airplanes, working from WeWorks, working from the Dominic right there in Soho. I mean, trust me, hand me a cappuccino and my laptop, I could work anywhere in America or anywhere in the globe, as a matter of fact. Just proved that the last 2 weeks being in Mexico. That's where I got this awesome tan. Hanging out, working, and we got a lot of business done. But your generation is hard to find work right now, right? I mean, you're competing for the first time ever with older Americans who also have a right to that job. I mean, before it was like, we just don't want our jobs to go overseas. And now it's like, crap, we're all rowing in the same boat, who's better at their job. And it doesn't matter where you went to school. They're looking for the most talented, experienced person who will work for less money, because that's the problem. So how does your generation recover from this, where a lot of us, I don't know, some of us who are business owners, we're just cruising right along. But we work in media. You and I are media people, so like.
But see, media is struggling too. Every industry is like struggling in a lot of ways. So, it's funny. Millennials were dubbed the unluckiest generation. Gen Zs were dubbed the anxious, depressed, cautious. Am I missing anything?
Sometimes you're accused of not being hardworking. Sometimes people mix you guys and the millennials up, which, by the way, for the record, I find it completely false. Just for the record, my youngest brother, he just turned 30, so he's definitely a millennial. He is probably one of the hardest working people I know, and always has been, for a guy who graduated from NYU and went to go work for Apple. And if you work for Apple, it's not a free ride. It's not like sitting around doing nothing. And I'm sure you know that. And, to run the store he runs, shout out to Grand Central Station, because that's where he's at.
Okay.
That place is busy all the time. I'm sure even during the pandemic, it's now busy again, because you New Yorkers don't know how to sit still at all. So... No, you're like, no, you said that in fact. Like, no, we don't. We really suck.
No, I was like, sleep? I don't know her. You know what I mean? Like,
who's sleep? Who is this person? So your generation gets this nick kind of tied into this millennial, and I don't even know who started the garbage saying all millennials are lazy and they don't try to get work. So first of all, older generations always want to attack the younger generations, and millennials, and this is why I like to study them, millennials and Gen Zs are so fascinating in the way they work, in the way they function, in how they communicate with people. Like, everything about them is just like different. And it's just like, okay, well, you can't hate on them that much because you guys raised them. So calm down, first of all. And second of all, the oldest millennial is 39. Yeah. So I feel like this whole thing about millennials, right, didn't really get started until like a couple of years ago. And it's just like, well, millennials were in the workforce for like a second. You know what I mean? Like, they were already sort of there. And then it was like the middle to tail end, I guess, of millennials sort of, really being in the workforce. And then now Gen Zers, who I guess are like 24, because I'm like an old Gen Z. So, because I'm 23 or 22. I almost said I was 23. That's hilarious. But 24 to like 23, 24 to like
basically what are when did they end? Like 13, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
around
13.
that because that's when Generation Alpha starts. But
We just
anyway,
covered all of my children. Thank you, Pavlina, for making me feel really old right now. Thank you. As my daughter just turned 23 last Thursday. Thank you, Pavlina, for making me feel. But my other one turned 16, so it's awesome. You covered all Gen Z, and I'm like, I have kids in that
I love it.
I have kids in that entire generation. Damn it.
That's so funny. That is hilarious though. Like
I
Gen
love it.
Zs are such a cool generation because they sort of look at the millennials as like that older sibling. It's like, okay, this is everything you did wrong. We're not gonna do that. You know what I mean? That's the beautiful thing about Gen Zers, and like they have that more motivation and they're very entrepreneurial in a lot of ways. But as far as how they're gonna pull themselves out of this with the whole COVID thing, I think it's a two-part thing. Not only is it, career and financial, but it's also like a mental thing. I think because of everything I said previously with like the depression, anxiety, everything else, that has been a toll on them that has really, they've really been affected by this whole pandemic, the quarantine, on like a mental level. And then also, and like kind of recovering from that, being okay with everything and knowing that there is a future and it's going to be okay. So getting okay with that and then getting themselves hopefully, hopefully they don't have debt, but if they do have debt, at least finding some sort of job to, pay that off. I'm talking mostly about student debt. But you're absolutely right. Like the jobs that are out there, there's few of them, right? And they're all low paying. And it's just kind of like this horrible cycle of very expensive school, low paying jobs, not enough jobs.
Yeah.
It's a mess,
I think Pavlina, to be fair, I think we're in a unique place since COVID started, and I believe the Gen Zers and especially millennials, and laughing that millennials end at 39, which is just 3.5 years behind me, which it just makes me laugh because I get accused all the time of being a millennial, and I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. I love technology. I was raised in. I guess because I worked in the Silicon Valley, I'm younger because I'm always on my phone. I know all the technology. I know all the apps. I play with all of them. Okay, I've never been into Pinterest, but that's like the only one that I haven't got into because I suck at making things. And my mentality is I'll just pay somebody.
It's great for ideas. If you ever had two ideas, if you ever need, ideas on how to decorate a room, Pinterest.
That's true. But I mean, you look at it, and I think what people need to remember is my generation came into technology when it got hot and heavy. Millennials that's all, like, they came in and they kind of got as we were fixing things, because you gotta remember iPhone 1 came out when most of those guys were in their 20s. I mean, crap, I was in my 20s when they first, and that makes me feel really old that the iPhone has been out that long. But then your generation, which includes you and a lot of folks I work with, my own children, a lot of my family, you've only known this technology to have the power of everything. As somebody put it, you have the same power in your hands, actually 15 times stronger than the computer that put man on the moon is in your hand right now in 2020.
Yes.
But here's where your generation has the advantage over older folks, is you guys can adapt and overcome. You're very much like the veterans who come out and start working. You guys adapt, and you're like, that's why affiliate marketing is killing it, Ryan. That's why direct sales from home. That's why Rodan and Fields, Zaya, the clothing line, all these brands are absolutely killing it from your home, and you can make $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $10,000 a month wearing sweatpants. You don't have to go to an office, and people are figuring it out because you can find a market, and you're like, wait a minute, I love Lululemon, I just don't want to pay Lulu prices. How about I get another brand that's right here, and I can give them, and I don't have to do any of this other stuff. Oh, and I get kickback for it, and I get a discount. All the things we all love. I think that's where your generation really picks up on it, where other people are like, oh, I got this Facebook thing. What do I do? How do I make a movie? I got to dance. Like, no, they don't get it. And I think that's where your generation, and that's why I have hope. Eventually, this will go away. Your book was another one of those things. As I was reading through it going, she's right. There's a lot of insight that you give that it's like, yeah, you're going to have dark days. You get that as a young entrepreneur. I get it as an old entrepreneur. This is like paddling through the tidal waves. If you've ever seen people take a rubberized boat, you're from Florida, you know what I'm talking about. It's getting through the wave line. That's the hardest journey of an entrepreneur. Right now, we're all in the wave line. Everybody grab a paddle and dig. Don't be that one person who's like, I'll just sit back here and just hold the paddle and look like. No, we know you're not. And at the
Right.
end, it's not going to harm us. We'll get through the wave line. You're going to shortcut to it. And you're not going to make it. I think your generation understands that concept, where the older generation is like, well, those young people just take my job and just become bitter. And you don't need to be that way. So.
Yeah, I think that the cool thing about Generation Z and, younger generations, definitely millennials, is they, like I said, they're very entrepreneurial. They want to find ways. I think a lot of, the traditional American thought is I work. How in Italy, they don't like work to live. Wait, how's that saying going? Do you know what I mean? Where
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, they don't like, they enjoy life, right? Here in New York, we kind of enjoy life, but we mostly just work. You know what I mean? Like sort of like the mindset, right?
Yeah.
And that's how I think most Americans.
Yeah.
I think Z's are very into like, well, I can do this from home. But they're more about experiences, about doing cool things and like fun things.
Yeah.
Fun. So they're always coming up with these new ways to like, make work easier or like make it fast, do it from anywhere, that kind of thing. And that's really cool to see.
Because your generation was raised off amazing podcasts. If you think about it, podcasting is hot and heavy in a lot of and you have a podcast, you work in the podcast industry, you understand it. A lot of people listen, not just to Joe Rogan, everybody loves Joe, but you look at the, Tim Ferriss's of the world, 4 Hour Work Week, Lewis Howes talking about working smarter, not harder, John Lee Dumas. All these guys have they worked hard, but you have that mentality or you swallow the Gary V. Grant Cardone pill. Two amazing entrepreneurs, but they're like work all the time. So you're you kind of go through it as your youth, you should work hard. I've told this to my own children. They're like, I have to work hard, it sucks. I'm like, yeah, it does. Your 20s aren't about, I know on TV they want you to have like, the 80s, if you've ever watched like The Big Chill or anything, one of those really old 80s movies that are okay, but they're not the best. Like, they sit around and they're like, oh, this is your great thing being in your 20s. No, 20s is called working hard because that's how you build to where you're at when you get to your 40s. And then you have employees, you own your own company, and you're telling them what to do in a good way, not being mean. Don't pull an Ellen. You don't need to yell at people. Ellen,
yes.
don't be an Ellen. But you kind of work your way through that. And I think a lot of people have this mentality. And your book was refreshing because you're like, look, you can work hard, but you need to have fun. And I think a lot of people miss that boat where they don't get how important meditation and working out and all of those things are so key. To me, yoga, Peloton, and my meditation is a daily process. I will not give it up. And coffee, I won't give that up either. But those things are all key in my life, but you have to take a break. We're so glued to screen world and working hard. It's hard to walk away. But I've learned from your generation and from millennials that I don't need to try to work everything in a short amount of time. I break up my day. I'll work 4 hours here, go do what I want to do, go work out, go chill, go do an appointment or something, go have my car worked on or whatever. Not that I have my car worked. I think get my car washed would be what I would do. But like, that's where your generation has really kind of gone, you don't need to do this. And if you get your whole day done in 4 hours, you're done. Why do you need to sit at your office for 8 hours? Why do you need to sit at your desk going, I don't know what I'm doing. I just know I need to be here for 8 hours. No, you don't.
Yeah, but that's like cool. You're not like living out your purpose. You're not benefiting anyone really. You're just like there to make some money, that's just like no fun. You know what I mean? But no, I think I agree with everything you said for sure. But there's definitely a balance that you have to find because I know I'll just like work from, I wake up at 4:30. I try to go to bed around like 9 or 10 because I wake up so early. But I'll be like working that whole time. Occasionally I'll get like coffee with a friend to like clear my mind a little bit, but I will like go so hard that if I don't have like an hour for my workout, like an hour set aside for like a meditation, I'll go crazy. Yeah. It's all about that balance. Like you have to have it.
Awesome. Well, Pavlina, you and I could talk for hours, but they actually put a cap on my show that I'm not allowed to talk that long. I mean, I would because I love chatting with you and it's good insight and it's a perfect way to go into a Friday is hearing what you and I have to rant about. And we weren't being political. We should be proud of ourselves. I know we have that reputation. When the two of us get together, it's like, hold on, we're going to go irritate a whole bunch of people for no reason, just talking about the truth. We can do that later, but I want to thank you for joining us, and I mean it on part of everybody here at To The Point. We were so proud of you for your book. You know, we shared it right when we found out because we're so excited about it. In fact, everybody who's watching this show right now, the first 5 people who send an email to hello@tothepointtv, I will make sure you get a copy of Pavlina's book so you can either read it yourself or send it out to whoever you want. So that's what we're going to do here because that's how much we support this awesome young woman right here who's absolutely killing it. And then BoldTV, we'll make sure we keep you in the loop when it goes, but make sure you support and watch her show because it's awesome. She's awesome. She covers great topics, and trust me, she's got the chops. She's like a young Katie Couric. You're like a little badass. Sorry, you're good. You're good. You're good. I'm just gonna give you that.
I love it. I love you guys. You guys are the best. Thank you so much.
We love having you on. I love your insight. I hope our audience took something away because a lot of people, they don't understand Gen Z and they're like, oh my God, what are we gonna do? Like I see that. They're like, our future. Oh, this is our future. And I'm like, well, I've got 4 of them. I got a stepson who's 23. I got a daughter who's 23. I got a daughter who's about to be 16. And I got a 13-year-old little man. Trust me.
Oh.
I'm pretty confident in the future because I can look at my almost 16-year-old and she's going to crash through walls and do amazing things with what she's doing because she's driven. I see it in my 13-year-old. I see it in my older 2. I see it in you. I see it in so many. We're in a good spot. The thing is we just got to give insight and say, look, we've been in dark times. You guys may not remember 9/11 besides what you've seen on TV, but we all remember it. You live right by where it happened, so I know it's in your thoughts on a daily basis. But for a lot of people, we survived a lot of things in this country, and we have it pretty good. And our thoughts and prayers go out to the folks in Lebanon who, they already had it bad as it was, and this just multiplied it. So also our thoughts and prayers go out to your family, hopefully that we could keep them safe and the people of Lebanon. So as we close out this show today, I want to thank you so much for joining us, Pavlina. And for everybody else, we will be right back after these messages. Thank you for watching today's show. As always, if you'd like to be a guest or you know somebody that we should have on our show as a guest, feel free to email us at hello@tothepointtv.com. We look forward to hearing from you. And you can also email us if you have a complaint, want to give us kudos, high fives, or if you have an additional question for a guest. Feel free to email us again at hello@tothepointtv.com. Our Twitter is up and running and it's for social good. Not yelling and screaming political or anything else crazy on our Twitter. So follow us on Twitter at ToThePointTV and we'll tweet back at you. And as always, we want you to check out our IG. We love Instagram. Our Instagram stories are up, they're buzzing, and they're meant for you. We love our fans and followers, and we want you to know who our guests are coming on, and we want you to engage with us, and we want to engage with you. So make sure you're following us at Instagram at ToThePointTV. Now, we love you on Facebook, and we want to make sure, because you're probably watching this on Facebook, you're like, why would you already follow us? But tell a friend that they can come follow our show and never miss a live episode. As you know, here on Facebook, make sure you head, if you're not on Facebook watching this, then it's different, but our Facebook is To The Point with Eric Mitchell. So make sure you follow us there so you always get notified when our show goes live at 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Now, for the folks over on YouTube. Now, YouTube, we love our YouTube, and our channel is growing, and we love you there. Now, if you missed the live show at 12 p.m. Eastern, you can catch the premiere, which is re-recorded. The premiere on YouTube goes down every day at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, and simply just go do that. So remember, with YouTube, what we want you to do is smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and flick that bell. That's right, hit the bell. Give that bell some bell love, and that way you know when we're on air and you can catch our latest episode. Check out our playlist. All of them broken down by the day and guest and show, so you can always stay up to date. Once again, on behalf of the entire team here at To The Point, we want to thank you for, again, tuning in and watching our show, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow on To The Point. As always, I am your host, Eric Mitchell. Be safe, be strong, be smart, and God bless America. Let's get to the point with
week needed this, something more. This a daily show that's known for politics and the sports.
Ain't no limit to whoever you may see at this point.
To celebrities, every key's beast in the joint. As a veteran, put them at ease, then anoint.
Every conversation can never be disappointed.
Whether tragic or it's happy, Eric will cover whatever's happening. Whether it be your gymnast, toe tapping, talking about nearly any athlete.
Not taking a back seat.
You're never gonna get it past T. Everybody running from it, it's a stampede.
But he's on it like this man who took that knee.
Mr. Mitchell's way too crafty.